So it's vulnerable. It's so vulnerable to be asking this, but I kind of
Sister Wives family, welcome back to Glow Gossips USA. What you're about to hear is not just another chapter in the saga. It's a revelation so explosive, so chilling, that it has the power to rewrite everything we thought we knew about the Brown family's collapse. Hidden in plain sight, buried deep under layers of silence, lies a story so raw that even the producers of Sister Wives never dared to show it. Tonight, we're peeling it all back. This isn't just a rumor. This isn't just speculation. What we're about to uncover is being called the single most damning piece of evidence ever tied to Kody and Robyn Brown. So before we jump in, hit that like button if you want more deep dives, because what we're about to explore will change the way you see this family forever. And if you're not subscribed yet, this is the time, because the updates on this story will not stop. We'll be here with every twist, every shocking revelation, and every tear that falls along the way. For years now, the older Brown children, Gabe, Garrison, Peden, Mykelti, Aspen, Leon, all of them in different ways have spoken the truth. They've painted the same picture over and over: a father who drifted away, who abandoned them emotionally, and a family that was no longer a family at all, but a kingdom built for only one queen, Robyn. Their testimonies of favoritism, of neglect, of being forgotten in a house that once promised unity, have echoed louder than Kody's excuses. We've seen it with our own eyes. We've felt it through their pain on screen. But what if I told you there was someone else? Someone who wasn't a child of Kody's, someone who had no stake in this feud, but who lived inside the walls of Robyn's Flagstaff fortress and saw it all with her own eyes. Someone who didn't just watch but documented every single moment. That person, according to shocking reports, was the nanny. For legal reasons, we'll call her Sarah Miller. And it's Sarah's secret diary that has blown the lid off everything. These weren't just messy notes scribbled in anger. These were dated, detailed entries so powerful that they became a key weapon in private custody hearings over Solomon and Ariella. It was the smoking gun the older kids had been waiting for. For years, they were dismissed as bitter children lashing out. But this diary, if true, was the undeniable proof that their cries of neglect weren't exaggerations at all. This is the story of that diary. The story of how Robyn's carefully constructed kingdom of control and privilege was exposed, word by word, page by page. To understand the diary's weight, you first have to understand the woman who wrote it. Sarah wasn't just some random caretaker. She was reportedly hired in late 2019, just as the Browns were making the chaotic move to Flagstaff, and just as cracks were becoming gaping wounds. She wasn't from Flagstaff. She was a young woman in her early 20s from the Midwest, raised in a deeply religious Christian home, someone who believed in the idea of family, faith, and unity. She had grown up watching Sister Wives, drawn in by the family's promise of love, spread equally among wives and children. To her, this wasn't just a job. It was a calling, a chance to step into a family she admired from afar and become part of their mission. According to reports, Sarah stumbled upon the nanny posting on a niche faith-based website. The listing was discreet, worded carefully to avoid drawing too much attention. It asked for a live-out assistant to help with household duties and childcare for a large, non-traditional family. It promised good pay, but required something unusual, an unbreakable non-disclosure agreement. For Sarah, this was a dream, opportunity, a chance to help Robyn, the wife she saw on TV always overwhelmed, always painted as the victim, the woman holding it all together. She never hesitated. She signed the NDA without a second thought, even describing in her diary's introduction how honored she felt to be invited into their inner circle. At first, everything seemed picture perfect. Her early entries, if true, described Robyn as warm, doting, and attentive, the house buzzing with laughter, toys scattered across the floor, and the endless hum of television in the background. Sarah's days were filled with playing with Solomon, and Ariella assisting Dayton and keeping the home in order. For those first weeks, it seemed like she had stepped into a dream, but dreams have shadows, and soon Sarah began to notice the cracks. The diary shifts from admiration to quiet unease, from joy to suspicion. What began as a personal journal soon became something darker, a logbook of evidence. It started with something small, a pantry. According to one alleged entry in early 20 2020, Sarah was helping Robyn organize what she thought was the family's kitchen pantry. Instead, Robyn led her to a smaller pantry near her master suite. Unlike the shared space by the mudroom, this one was locked. Robyn pulled out a key from her personal keyring and opened a door to what Sarah described as a miniature Whole Foods. Shelves lined from floor to ceiling with imported cheeses, organic juices, gluten-free snacks, gourmet chocolates, and luxury coffee. It was abundance beyond measure. Sarah's shock was evident. Just the day before, she had overheard Janelle arguing with Kody on the phone, begging for a larger grocery budget for her and Savannah, mentioning coupons and store brands while Kody lectured her about tightening belts. Yet here was Robyn, hoarding luxury food behind a locked door while the other wives rationed. Robyn brushed it off with a smile, calling it her mommy's treats and sensitive tummy snacks for her kids, even joking that the other children were like locusts who would devour everything. But it didn't feel like a joke. The lock on that pantry door was a line in the sand, a clear symbol that Robyn's family lived by different rules. This was only the beginning. Entry after entry in Sarah's diary described the same pattern: lavish, Amazon Fresh deliveries showing up multiple times a week for Robyn, while Janelle struggled in her RV with a failing refrigerator, and Christine scraped together meals for 6 children. The so-called one big happy family was fractured into 2 realities. One where Queen Robyn and her children thrived in secret abundance, and another where the rest of the Browns were left to fight over scraps. But the locked pantry was just the first pillar of Sarah's explosive claims. What came next was even more disturbing, an account of how labor and responsibility were divided. In her alleged entry dated July 22, 2020, Sarah described Kody storming around, barking orders at Garrison and Gabe. He demanded they spend their weekend digging trenches and hauling dirt for the Coyote Pass project, insisting it was the least they could do since they were living under his roof, a claim Sarah noted was false, since Garrison was paying rent to Janelle. Kody's words weren't a request. They were commands, sharp and cold. Minutes later, when Dayton mentioned he was bored, Kody's entire tone shifted. His anger melted into excitement. He lit up talking about video games, promising to give Dayton $2,000 from the family account to build a high-end gaming PC. The favoritism was so glaring, Sarah wrote, that you could choke on it. Robyn called it protecting their childhood. But to Sarah, it looked like royalty being raised behind palace walls, while the rest of the children were forced into servitude. Garrison and Gabe were the laborers, expected to sweat in the sun, while Dayton and the others in Robyn's household lived without chores, without responsibility, without burden. It wasn't just favoritism, it was a system. Sarah chillingly referred to it in her diary as a caste, where Robyn's children were royalty and the others were nothing more than peasants to be used when convenient. This is the picture, painted by the nanny's words. A kingdom of neglect. A monarchy within what was supposed to be a plural marriage, orchestrated by Robyn, enforced by Kody, and endured by every other child who didn't fit into Robyn's royal bloodline. And, as shocking as this is, this was just the beginning.
Breakup of the family, the different directions, all the secrecy, all this upheaval, all this damage, all this terror.
And Sarah Miller was writing everything down, every single injustice, every crack in the perfect facade. She allegedly recorded moments where Robyn would roll her eyes and complain that Christine's children were too loud, too messy, too inconvenient. Yet, the same Robyn would allow her own living room to stay buried under toys, wrappers, and clutter for days without a word. The double standard wasn't just casual, it was constant. The diary reportedly paints Kody as a man who expected Christine and Janelle's children to be his laborers on call. Fix a leaky faucet, haul heavy furniture, replace something broken, at Robyn's house? He wouldn't ask Dayton, who was right there, or even lift a finger himself. No. He would bark at Hunter, Logan, or Garrison, demanding their time and strength as if it were owed to him. To Kody, the OG kids weren't children anymore. They were the hired help. Robyn's children, meanwhile, were treated like heirs to a throne. Every tear we've seen on screen, every heartbreaking confession from the older children, that pain wasn't just real. It was allegedly being echoed in Sarah's secret journal, line by line. She wasn't just a nanny anymore. She was quietly, becoming the chronicler of the Brown family's unraveling. And then, according to this diary, the story shifted into an even darker realm, beyond favoritism and neglect. Sarah's words began to capture something far more disturbing, what many would call psychological abuse. Not just directed at the wives, but aimed squarely at their children. Sarah, the nanny, was there. She was the invisible witness while Kody paced Robyn's kitchen, phone in hand, unleashing tirades of verbal venom. He felt untouchable in that house, safe in Robyn's shadow. And Robyn? She was there too, never stopping him, never defending the children, only nodding, sometimes even fanning the flames. The first alleged entry takes us back to the fall of 2021, right when Christine was preparing to leave. September 5th, 2021. Kody stormed into the house, phone pressed to his ear. He was raging at Christine. According to Sarah's account, he wasn't just raising his voice, he was screaming. He accused her of poisoning Truly against him, of turning their daughter into a stranger. Then came the line that made Sarah's blood run cold. Kody said, "When she's a teenager and rebelling, don't come crying to me. You made your bed, Christine. Now lie in it with your disloyal children." And while he seethed, Robyn stroked his back, soothing him, whispering that he was a wonderful father, that Christine was just bitter and jealous. Robyn didn't defend Truly. She validated the rage. A feedback loop of toxicity. That's how Sarah described it. Then came the entry that reframed one of the most emotional scenes fans ever witnessed. October 11th, 2021. Gabe's birthday. We all remember how Gabe broke down on camera, devastated that his father had forgotten his special day. But Sarah's alleged diary makes the story far more chilling. Kody didn't forget. He chose not to. Remember. Sarah writes that Kody spent the whole day at Robyn's house, even joking with a friend that Gabe was his biggest enemy, that sometimes I forget he's even my son. That was the cruelty. Forgetting wasn't an accident. It was punishment. A way to erase his child as revenge. And Robyn? She was there in the kitchen, blending his protein shake, acting like it was normal. The silence wasn't ignorance. It was complicity. And then came the entry about Garrison, the proud National Guardsman saving for a house of his own. November 20th, 2021. Instead of pride, Kody fumed with rage. He mocked his son's service, called him a kid playing soldier, and spat that Garrison owed him. That the money his son worked for should have gone back into the family fund. The same fund, Sarah notes, that was constantly fueling Robyn and Kody's lifestyle. And Robyn's response? Another knife. She muttered that Janelle had never taught her children true loyalty. In their world, independence wasn't celebrated. It was punished. These entries, if real, form a damning trilogy: Truly dismissed, Gabe erased, Garrison demeaned. Each story paints the same horrifying picture. Kody and Robyn united in viewing the OG kids not as children, but as problems, as burdens, as enemies. And Sarah Miller was there, recording it all. The secret diary wasn't just a record anymore. It was a time bomb, waiting to explode. And the fuse, according to our sources, was lit by Robyn's own children. That was the breaking point. That was the moment Sarah realized the toxicity wasn't just destroying the older kids. It was spreading to the next generation. And that's when the diary finally slipped from Sarah's hands and landed in the hands of a lawyer. What happened next? A courtroom, closed doors, secret evidence, and a judge's ruling that shook the Brown family to its core. But before we get there, Sister Wives crew, let's rewind and pick up with the moment that changed everything. The nanny's breaking point. Because once the children started repeating the poison they were hearing, Sarah knew she could no longer stay silent. And that's where part 3 of this story begins. Something happened today that I just can't shake off. I was sitting with little Ari in the living room, and we were playing house with her dolls. She lined up a daddy doll, a mommy doll, and a few kids. Then she picked up all the extra female dolls, tossed them into the toy box, and slammed the lid shut. Curious, I asked her why those dolls weren't allowed to play. With the straightest face, in a pitch-perfect imitation of Robyn's voice, she said, "Oh, those are the mean mommies." They tried to steal the daddy, so they live in the box now. I froze. A 6-year-old doesn't invent something like that. She's parroting what she hears at home. That means Robyn and Kody are teaching her that Christine, Janelle, and Meri aren't just ex-wives. They're villains, locked away in a box, erased from the story. This isn't a blended family anymore. This is indoctrination. The word alone is chilling. Indoctrination. This diary entry, if true, is the smoking gun. It proves the problem wasn't only neglect or favoritism. It was active brainwashing. Robyn and Kody weren't content with having each other. They were rewriting the family history in the minds of their children, training the youngest Browns to see their siblings' mothers as enemies. Imagine the generational damage. Imagine, truly years from now, trying to connect with Meri, only to find a wall of hate and lies between them, built by their own parents. And this wasn't just one odd moment. According to the diary, it was a pattern. Solomon allegedly called Janelle's RV the poorhouse. Ari asked why her older brothers were always angry at her daddy, as though their pain was nothing but an inconvenience. Dayton and Aurora reportedly mocked their older siblings' choices, using the same belittling language Kody himself used. For Sarah, the nanny, this was the breaking point. Watching Kody tear down his older children was painful, but watching him pass that poison into the next generation was unbearable. She knew she couldn't keep silent. Quietly, she began preparing. She copied the worst pages of her diary, uploading them to a secure cloud drive. She knew the NDA she signed was ironclad, but her conscience was stronger. In spring of 2022, she quit. She gave Robyn a polite excuse, family matters. But in reality, she was walking away with evidence that could bring down Kody's empire. Robyn was relieved. Another witness gone. What she didn't realize was that Sarah hadn't disappeared. She was waiting. That moment came during the emotional season 17 and 18 tell-alls. As Christine and Janelle poured out their heartbreak, as Gabe and Garrison's tears exposed the truth, Sarah realized the lie had gone too far. Kody was playing innocent on camera, acting like he didn't know why his kids were upset. Sarah knew better. She had proof. She reached out through a trusted intermediary to a top-tier Arizona family lawyer. The message was clear. She had the receipts, and she was ready to talk. Behind closed doors, a secret legal war exploded. Kody and Robyn's attorneys fought like cornered animals, calling Sarah's diary fictional ramblings and threatening to sue her into silence. They demanded the diary be buried forever. But Sarah's lawyer argued something more powerful. The welfare of the children mattered more than any NDA. The judge agreed. The diary was subpoenaed. Sarah Miller testified in private. Pages of her diary spread before lawyers, her voice exposing the truth the cameras never caught. For the first time, Kody and Robyn were up against a witness they couldn't dismiss. And the diary contained more than heartbreak. As lawyers combed through the entries, they found bombshell after bombshell. Not just emotional neglect, but shocking financial secrets. The Browns had always portrayed the family pot as empty, a pool of money they all struggled to keep afloat. But Sarah's entries told another story, of hidden accounts, secret credit cards, and a shadow company designed to funnel money away from the wives and into Kody and Robyn's pockets. One entry described Robyn loudly arguing over charges on her personal Victoria's Secret credit card, with a limit in the 5 figures. A personal card, not family money. While Meri was begging for funds to fix her inn's roof, Robyn was quietly racking up thousands on lingerie and jewelry. Another entry described an envelope addressed to KNNR Brown Holdings LLC, a shell company Kody and Robyn allegedly set up to hide assets. Sarah overheard them gloating about shielding money from the others and protecting it for our kids' future. Translation, they were siphoning cash out of the family pot while the other wives struggled to survive. These revelations turned the courtroom upside down. This wasn't just about neglect anymore. This was about betrayal on every level: emotional, financial, and parental. The judge, after hearing Sarah's testimony, reportedly handed down a devastating ruling. While Kody and Robyn kept primary custody of Solomon and Meri, they were ordered into mandatory reunification therapy with all of Kody's children. A forensic accountant was appointed to dig into every dollar, every hidden account. And, most Devastating of all for Robyn, the judge ordered structured visitation. Solomon and Meri were to have guaranteed time with Christine, Janelle, and their siblings, free from parental interference. The walls of Robyn's castle had been breached. The kingdom she and Kody built on secrecy, favoritism, and hidden money had been cracked open. For years, Kody controlled the narrative on TLC. Now, the truth was out, not through an ex-wife he could smear as bitter, but through a nanny who saw it all and wrote it down. And just when everyone thought the story was over, another bombshell dropped. A new diary page surfaced, one that pulled the entire sister-wives saga into sharp, terrifying focus. It described Kody and Robyn sitting at their dining table. Maps of Coyote Pass spread before them. Kody allegedly outlined a ruthless plan to push Janelle out, to lowball her in a buyout, and to drag her through court until she couldn't fight anymore. Robyn traced her finger over the map and said, "This will be our family compound, our children's legacy." Not the family's legacy, our family's. And there it was, the endgame. Coyote Pass was never meant for all the Browns. It was a long con, a land grab, a plan to squeeze the other wives until they broke, seize the property for pennies, and rebuild a dynasty for Kody and Robyn's children alone. If this diary is true, then Sister Wives was never a love story, never a struggle of a man trying to hold his family together. It was a slow-motion coup, a calculated betrayal, a family destroyed from the inside out, while the one person they thought would stay silent, the nanny, turned out to be the historian who wrote it all down. So, Sister Wives crew, what do you think? Do you believe the nanny's diary is real? Which part shocks you the most? The indoctrination of the kids, the secret finances, or the ultimate land grab at Coyote Pass? Tell me in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe because this story is only getting bigger. The kingdom of neglect has fallen and the truth is finally out.